Good morning, Congress. I represent Florida's 25th congressional district, just to the north of here, in nearly all of South Broward County and a little bit of North Broward as well. I'm joined by my congressional colleagues, and we have state legislators here as well. Let me just be clear that we are here because the state set up what we expect to be a sanitized, essentially cleansed so-called tour, where we will be able to go in 3 groups of elected officials for only 30 minutes. I mean, in Congress, any facility holds undocumented immigrants, ICE detainees, any facility, federal law requires to allow members of Congress in for unannounced visits. We planned an unannounced visit that we were coming here today to execute. It was to happen at 11 o'clock. We're quite sure the state got wind of it and decided to set up this sham tour that we expect will show us little to nothing. We came because we want to make sure that we at least get structure where these are being housed, observe the conditions that from what they are showing us, and we're going to ask a lot of questions. I know I'm planning to ask questions to hold the people who run this facility accountable on the inhumane conditions that we've heard about, that there are bugs in food, that there are the infestation of mosquitoes, that detainees are being forced to sleep all night with the lights on, that they are not being given access to counsel, and then the other real concerns include that this facility infringes different tribal lands, which, by the way, we are on as we speak, consultation with the Mixed tribe or the Seminole tribe of Florida. They are destroying the progress that we've been able to make by putting this facility down in the most haphazard of ways with no environmental permitting or anything, due to the governor invoking emergency powers we don't think he possesses to do this. And we have spent 25 years on a federal-state partnership focused on Everglades restoration right here. And to put massive amounts of infrastructure with sewage and piping and trucking in fill, which we've seen aerial views of, is an outrageous imposition on dollars, really billions when you combine state federal funding on Everglades restoration. Restoring the historic sheet flow of the water here. This restoration plan is absolutely essential because they should not put humans in cages in the middle of swampland in the Everglades. It's outrageous, it's inhumane, it's unlawful, and we're going to look at what's happening there, but we'll be back, mark our words, to about our awful responsibility that we are entitled to under federal law to conduct an visit and really get an opportunity to see what's going on here. And now I'll turn it over to my colleague, Darren Soto. To Maxwell Frost.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm Congressman Maxwell Frost. I represent Florida's 10th Congressional District, Orlando, Florida, in the United States Congress. And like Representative Wasserman Schultz just mentioned, this is something that we had planned to come here on an unannounced, to see this for what it really is, and to see it not sanitized. And I promise you, when we found out an unannounced visit, invitation, they knew they had cleaning up. They knew Congress walked through this facility camp that set it up and up the conditions before we saw it. So people should know we don't need permission to facility and oversight. And I can tell you, many of us will for unannounced visits, to see how things are. The law fairly clearly, any facility that is operated by or for the Department of Homeland Security holding undocumented immigrants, members of Congress must be allowed to conduct oversight. So we will be back to do that. But I got to tell you this, I know they've been cleaning up. I know over the past few days they've been trying to handle the flood issues. I've spoken with lawyers and families who have spoken with people who are in there right now. There's been flooding. There's been reports of toilets not working, backing up, feces being flooded inside cages that they are sleeping in, people not being allowed to shower. In fact, one of my clients had one shower in the course of about 6 days. People not being able to make the phone calls that they need to make. People being waken up in the middle of the night saying, this is your time to make your phone call at 3 a.m. or whatever time it is. I have a all of the complaints from my constituents. I have a binder full of questions that I expect answered. What is the hurricane plan? What is the plan with flooding? We want to see the medical unit. We want to see what the segregation unit looks like. We want to see where the law library is. We want to see all this and make sure that it's up to the standards of what a federal facility is. The other thing I have in here are pictures of my constituents that are in there that I'll be looking out for, questions that their family members have and questions that their lawyers have about their whereabouts, their conditions, how they're doing, and under what legal authority are they being held in here. And so that's what we're here to do. But again, remember, even though that, of course, over the last few days, they've been polishing it up, getting ready for this tour, a clean cage is still a cage. A clean cage in the middle of the Everglades as we come into hurricane season, rated by the department that is supposed to help us with our hurricane preparedness and help us respond to this, is a gross misuse of taxpayer dollars and resources, especially as we're looking down what might be, and hopefully they're wrong about this, but what might be a tough hurricane season for us. And at the same time, Donald Trump and his administration are visiting and firing meteorologists, scientists, technicians at NOAA, National Weather Service, and the Hurricane Center. This stuff has real impact to the people of this state and has real impact to the humans that are being held in that cage right now. These are inhumane conditions. This is tearing apart our environment, and it's disgraceful that we have to be here today in the middle of the Everglades, outside of this makeshift camp at this time this morning. So I appreciate everyone being here today. We'll, of course, address you all after the tour. And next up, my colleague and neighbor, Darren Soto.
The economy is going down the toilet, and rather than fixing it, the Republicans decided to deport thousands of Florida's built in a flood zone during hurricane season. It's a monument to their stupidity. It also puts federal agents, National Guard troops, and ICE detainees at risk. And Republicans can't wait to deport Florida's landscapers, cooks, cleaning ladies, farm hands, and workers. This will raise food and housing prices, hurt small businesses, and make everyday services take forever in our state. Add in tariffs, mass firings, and overall, it's no surprise America's economy is in decline, with negative growth in Trump's first quarter. 2 in a row, and it'll officially be a Trump session soon. To make matters worse, President Trump took away legal status to nearly 1 million Cubans, Venezuelans, Haitians, and Nicaraguans. These are family members of millions of Florida citizens. And now he's deporting them in the most humane way possible. Mosquito infested. The toilets don't work. The lights are on all day. It's too hot. It's too cold. It is a disaster. Florida's had many dark chapters in our history already, from the Ocoee Massacre to Rosewood and Axe Handle Saturday and Dozier School for Boys. We thought this time in Florida's history was over with, and now we have another dark chapter right before our eyes. It is mostly young Hispanic males housed in subhumane conditions in that facility there. And one day future legislators are going to look back on this in shame and apologize for the actions taken here as well. We've come here today to see the truth about it. We know we're going to get a sanitized version, but it's absolutely essential that we're here on behalf of our constituents to answer questions for all Floridians. Nosotros tenemos una economía muy mala. En este momento los republicanos están enfocando una deportación de miles de trabajadores aquí en Florida. Ellos tienen esta cárcel en inundación durante el tiempo de huracanes y este es muy estúpido. Nosotros tenemos una situación muy peligrosa por Policía Federal y por los inmigrantes aquí. Ellos están tratando para deportar miles y miles de nuestros trabajadores y este va a aumentar precios, especialmente por casas y comida. Este va a estar malo por empresarios pequeños y tenemos una adición de tarifas y tarifas y terminaciones grandes y esta situación caótica no es un sorpreso. La economía es terrible en ese momento y está más y más malo cada mes. Y para hacer esta situación mucho más terrible, el presidente Trump quitó un estatus legal por casi 1 millón cubanos, venezolanos, haitians y nicaragüenses. Estos son nuestros miembros de nuestras familias de miles de ciudadanos floridanos aquí. Y él está para deportarlos de una manera más inhumana. Y nosotros estamos aquí para ver la verdad. With that, we have my great colleague, Representative Jared Mositz.
Thank you, Darren. I want to thank all of my colleagues for being here today, and Debbie, who was originally organizing the trip to come out here. I want to thank all of you for being here to tell the story of what's going on behind me. I'm not going to talk long because my colleagues really summed it up. But as someone who ran logistical operations, not just in the private sector, but for the public sector for the state of Florida, this is effing ridiculous. And that's what you all are thinking while you're here. Okay, this is not a facility that can take a high influx of people in any real manner. It's on a one-way road, 30 miles each way. Evacuation routes would be ridiculous to get out of here. I'm watching them bring in equipment, generators. The cost of that is so high because of how you have to get in and out of here. If anyone wanted to design this in a logistical way, this would never have happened. But that's not the point of this. In fact, they're not even taking new people. They're just decompressing other facilities to make it look full. And so, look, the point of this was on purpose. The point wasn't to build a facility to deal with immigration. The point was to build a facility in the middle of the Everglades on purpose. It was for that intent. It was a message. And so, look, we're going to go in today. We're allowed to be here. We can come anytime under federal law. We can come back tomorrow if we want, and they have to let us in. Appreciate the invitation. But at the end of the day, you know, we don't just get, you know, an invitation to go into federal facilities. Under federal law, we're allowed to be here. And I have no doubt that we will be back at a date and time of our choosing. And so, again, thank you for being here. We're going to go in. We're going to look at the facilities. We're going to talk to the folks, and then we'll come out and we'll tell you what we saw. Thank you.
We can take some questions now, briefly, before we have to go in. And I think the summary of how we look at this is this point. This is a stunt. Dropping flimsy infrastructure in the middle of the Everglades in a swamp where they bragged about it being surrounded by alligators and pythons. The whole point is to, look tough, like they're trying to go after bad hombres. The cruelty is the point. It is brutally hot, as we can all see. There are insects everywhere. These are not conditions that you should ever put anyone in. But they are putting them in these conditions so that they can look like they are accomplishing Donald Trump's goal of deporting as many people as possible. The other thing that was not mentioned was that Donald Trump promised that he would prioritize rounding up the worst of the worst and detaining criminals. There are no criminals here, from what we understand, but we're certainly going to find out. And if you have any,
it is 10:05. We have until 10:10 for questions.
Okay. Any questions?
First question for you: when did you guys find out that these 3 tours were going to be separated and they were only going to be 30 minutes rather than that 90
late yesterday. We got an email late yesterday that they were breaking us up into 3 groups and that we went from an hour and a half tour to 30 minutes. What we're going to be able to see really and actually glean in terms of the reality on the ground here in 30 minutes is very little.
Any thoughts on the lawsuit filed by state lawmakers demanding access to Alligator Alcatraz?
I mean, you can ask them, but they're filing that lawsuit based on what they're entitled to under state law, and our assertion. I passed the law that entitles members of Congress to be able to inspect any ICE detention facility, whether it's run by ICE or not. And so I can assure you that I know we're allowed unannounced access. But once like Maxwell said, Congressman Frost said, I'm sure once they got wind of that we were planning this trip unannounced, they decided to be able to cover their asses and cleanse this site as quickly as possible and hastily organize a tour that we think will not show us much.
Is there any confirmation from state authorities that some detainees have been transported to hospitals due to some health conditions?
Yeah, there's been reports. There were reports from HCA, the hospital, confirmed that not from the state.
Come up to the microphone to answer.
We're gonna ask.
Representative Frost, you mentioned you have a binder full of constituent names you're going to be looking out for and looking if you can speak with them. Are you looking for anyone specifically? Do you care to name drop?
Yeah, I don't want to drop any names, but I have a few constituents that are here, and then I have a few family members of constituents that are here as well. I have their pictures, their names, their situation, the questions that their attorneys and family have, so I will be on the lookout for them. And it is my intention to try to speak with them and get some answers for people back at home.
Their attorneys haven't been able to get in contact with them at all?
Some have, some haven't. The ones that have, it's been at weird hours of the night. Very short conversations from random phone numbers. There's questions about what phones are being used and how they're allowed to do it. One of my constituents that's being held here said that there were 3 phones allocated to his cage, but 2 of them weren't working at all. Only one of them were working, and they were only allowed to use them at very late hours of the night. So there's just not consistency here in that legal ability to speak with their attorney, and also that moral ability to speak with your family as you're here and your loved ones. Yeah.
I've been told you guys can't bring your phones in, you can't take photos. So that could really inhibit your ability to document, see what's going on in there.
Of course.
Yeah, it does inhibit our ability to document what's going on. And they let, National Fox News go in with DeSantis to take a video, but they won't let members of Congress come in with our damn phones to take pictures and to take videos of what we're seeing. I think it's ridiculous. But that's why we all have binders. We're going to be jotting down what we have. I brought a disposable camera just in case. They told us we can't bring these in. I'm going to attempt to. But here's the thing. They don't want us to come out here and really talk about the real conditions of it, and that's why they've limited our ability to bring in electronics.
Are they saying it's because of law that you can't bring it in, or just their policy?
They didn't say. They just said we weren't going to be allowed to bring in devices.
When did you receive notice that you weren't going to be able to bring in technology?
In the same email.
What do you say to DeSantis yesterday before your visit, saying, I've never seen Democrats fight this hard for people in Florida. I've never seen them fight this hard for any U.S. citizen. What's your reaction to that comment from him?
We're fighting every day for the economy. We're fighting every day to protect people's health care that they just took away literally $1 trillion out of the system, and we'll see nearly 2 million Floridians lose their health care as a result of the one big ugly law, and literally another million plus Floridians that are going to lose their SNAP assistance. We're fighting here for small businesses. We're fighting here to fight inflation. What they're doing here is eliminating thousands and thousands of workers over the course of this next couple months, and every Floridian's going to feel that. So we're fighting for a lot of things that specifically count for every Floridian around here, including the millions of citizens who have family members who were on TPS, who are on parole, that now no longer have legal status. They're voting members here in Florida, and they're going to see their loved ones taken away when they had a legal status before.
What's very clear is that we as Democrats ran for Congress and ran for office to make sure that we could make people's lives better. MAGA extremists like Ron DeSantis and his MAGA extremist colleagues and our MAGA Republican colleagues, they ran to serve Donald Trump and to make sure that they could get and remain in power. That's the clear contrast, and we got to go in now. So thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.